Hi guys, welcome to another episode of ADN Lifestyle with Sanati, brought to you by Audionomics Entertainment. Today, Mr. Charles Molefe, also known as Mr. Gottagged. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm alright, thank you. Good to see you. It's been a minute.
It's been a while. It's been a long time, actually. About 2 years.
Last time, no, I saw you calling recently.
Isn't that 2 years ago?
No, they just had their 1 year anniversary.
Oh, sorry. I'm busy, so
Ooh.
my mind, is all over the place.
Busy catching flights, I see.
Yeah, no, it's been a busy 2023, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna get busier. So.
Yeah. Okay, can you elaborate busier? How?
No. It's a matter of moving on. Can't be stagnant. You need to try new things, try new adventures, and see what you can do.
I see you were in America.
Yeah, I was actually there about a month back, I think. Yeah, I was in New York, Queens. Lovely place.
Is it?
Definitely going back there.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's one of those, I guess, part of the adventures.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is it a hood? Do they have like your hood places?
You know what? I didn't go to the hood.
Like Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn is your...
There's certain parts of Brooklyn that are the hood, and then there's the Bronx, obviously, that is also part of the hood, etc. But the biggest thing for me is I did want to experience the hood, but I was advised not to.
Okay.
Because if you don't really know anybody there, there's not much reason why you should be there. Therefore, you just opening yourself up to being a victim of crime and so forth. But I didn't go around this time. Queens, it was actually quite a multicultural place.
Is it?
I mean, there's literally each and every single culture there. Mm-hmm. Mexicans, you got the Ecuadorians, you've got the Chinese, you've got the Japanese, you've got people from the Middle East, you've got Africans as well. So Queens for me was quite a good, call it melting pot, which New York is known for. And I actually didn't have to experience the hood because why?
I mean, why?
Why? Yes, there were instances where I did go past one of the projects, quite a dilapidated looking kind of building, but it just didn't look safe, So I was like, you know what, let me go to the other side of the road and avoid trouble. So
you were there alone the whole time?
No, I went there alone.
Let's hope you didn't. Let's say human trafficking, Charlie.
Nobody's going to traffic me, I can tell you that. I have a big struggle to contend with to get me into some car, trust me. So, that's definitely not going to happen. But, you know what, the thing is, if you limit yourself to, I'm going to stay in South Africa, I'm going to be safe, etc., you're not living. You're not living. I think break those barriers, find out what's possible, and actually try and see what you can achieve. Because I still believe that me staying in South Africa forever is just not going to be something I'm going to be doing. I mean, You want
to go home?
Yeah, no, of course. I need to go back to the States.
People say coming to America, he's going back to America.
Yeah, no. It's one of those situations. Obviously, I've sorted out a lot of my citizenship things, and it was actually going to test if my passport works. I mean, somebody says, "Hey, here's your US passport," and then you're like, "Okay, it's a piece of paper, but does it actually work?" But when you get onto Emirates or whatever airline, and you get to Dubai, and they're like, "Can we have your passport?" and you whip out your US passport, and they're like, their face changes, and I was like, "Why?" But anyway, my own assumptions obviously concluded what is causing that type of reaction. So, got into Milan as well, US passport, no issues, no funny business, And then the final leg was obviously to JFK in New York, and when you hand your passport over, the guy looks at you, looks at the passport and says, "Welcome back home," so, and you're like, okay, it works. It works. So, it was quite an adventure. I think I did a lot of Manhattan.
Okay.
Saw the Empire State Building, went to the 9/11 memorial site. Just like
you did a lot, hey?
No, I did a lot. I mean, the Manhattan skyline what's called the Statue of Liberty as well. Was one of the sites that I went to, not physically, but you could see it from a distance, like less than 500 meters away. And no, I did a lot. I mean, I was on the train quite a bit, on the buses quite a bit. Efficient systems, like really, really, really efficient systems. Like, as South Africans, we take nonsense as a society. What we are going through in South Africa is just not necessary. I mean, the corruption and whatever else, and just everything that's bad, it's just a problem, because as soon as you step into another country and you actually see that, okay, but this can actually work. In South Africa, we've got the infrastructure, we've got the funds to make the infrastructure if we need to, but then it just disappears. It just disappears. I mean, the one time I was actually in bed and I was watching TV, and the lights were off and everything, and then all of a sudden the TV went off, and the first thing that came into my mind was like, oh, load shedding. Then I realized that no, the standby light on the TV is still on, so it's the timer on the TV. Because I'm so conditioned to believing that every time the power goes off, you got load shedding, Only to realize that, you know what, you are in a first world country at the moment, so you don't have those problems. If there's an issue with one of the trains, which I experienced, I think there was an issue on one of the tracks or something like that, they simply said, no, get off this train, go up to this platform, get onto that train, no fees.
Nothing. Get on your way.
It's going to take you to the same place. You know what I'm saying? That's efficiency, and that's something South Africa should actually work towards. But unfortunately, it's just, it's a bit frustrating that there's so much talent in this country, and it's just being wasted because a select few are just, being them.
It's a mess. This country is a mess.
No, it's a mess. But you know what? It's not all rosy, especially in New York. People are very cold in New York. I mean, I held the door open for one lady, and she looked at me like she was going to kill me or something like that. I got a death stare from I don't know where, but
she's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, obviously they've got that whole gender this, gender that, identifies him, identifies her, or she, or whatever. It's a big thing in the States, and it's something that obviously as South Africans you're not really accustomed to that type of behavior or culture. If a boy is a boy,
a boy is a boy.
A boy is a boy, So we don't have this middle ground, and we still need to negotiate with this and that. No. There, it's quite a big thing. So me holding the door for that lady was seen as a gesture of, do you think I'm weak? Can I not open my own door? But, I mean, coming from South Africa, it's just courteous, just to hold the door open for somebody and say, hey, But anyway, It is what it is. Greeting people in the middle of the street as you're walking past, people just look at you.
Why? Why are you greeting me? I mean, we've got this thing in South Africa, especially if we lock eyes. It's exactly. Like we'll nod or...
I may not know you from a bar of soap, but if there's some sort of non-verbal communication, obviously I can, call it, cement the conversation by saying, hey, how's it, and walking past. We don't have to stop and have a conversation, but the fact that nobody actually communicates back with you, it's a bit... Sheesh. People do what they need to do, basically.
And that's that.
And that's all.
Anything else? No.
Nothing in between. But that's just New York. It's a hustle. It's the hustle and bustle of America, I would say. I think obviously Miami and California are something a bit similar, especially California, because everybody's there just to knock each other. I mean, everybody wants to make it in California and New York.
It's Hollywood, man.
It is. So my next trip, I think, will be a more slow-paced but more political region, obviously being Washington, D.C.
Okay.
A lot of South Africans are apparently staying there as well. So it would be nice to, meet up with a couple of South Africans and try and find out what's the best thing to do here.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All the best with that. To give people a bit of background, who's Charles? Where is he from?
Charles, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe myself. Well, I've been... Obviously, the beginning is, the US came to South Africa, grew up Gottagged, Tsula section 466, corner house. And then moved on to Leondale, went to St. Catherine's, went to the Drakensberg Boys Choir, went to St. Albans College, then moved on to get into IT, learned a couple of things with IT, and then always had a knack for writing and journalism, but actually officially never did anything with regards to journalism. But yeah, I find myself writing articles for TopGear South Africa, writing articles for my website, and exploring, experiencing what I like, which is cars. Not even like, I actually love cars. I think I've got a
You're
bit of
married to cars.
yeah, something along those lines. Maybe not that close, but
It's close.
there's a very good relationship that I have with vehicles. Ever since, I guess from the dawn of time. I think one of my first pictures that I recall was in a blue tin car. And I can only say, maybe that's why you liked cars, because, you had an early experience with those cars and so forth. So, yeah, for me, I'm a petrol head. I enjoy driving to the middle of nowhere for no reason at any time and just relaxing, taking it easy, just clearing the mind and, forgetting about everything.
Yeah, I know a lot about those drives.
No, she has obviously taken a couple of drives. I think you in the Caravel.
Yeah, we went to Rustenburg.
Yeah, the Rustenburg trip, we went in the Caravel, the
And when you were
T-Rock.
in the T-Rock.
Yeah, we took a drive for some photos and
Ford Figo, I think.
Ford Figo, yes. Ford EcoSport.
Is it
as
an
well.
EcoSport?
I think it's an EcoSport. But it's been such a long time
Yeah.
ago that, But I mean, I've taken trips to Durban impromptu, like, hey, you know what? Looks like it's a bit cold in Joburg. Let me drive down to Durban, and end up staying the night in Durban, coming back, and experiencing the cars that I get on test. And obviously, that's the main purpose of why I take some of these drives. It's not to flaunt it or say, hey,
Today,
I'm driving a brand new car literally every week. No, it's not. It's not what I'm about. For me, it's about experiencing the different products, knowing what is good, knowing what is bad, and basically making recommendations. I mean, we speak to some of the public relations managers for some of the brands and advise them and say, hey, maybe this car it's good. However, I think it misses this, it misses that, and I think you guys could improve this and improve that. And some of that information is actually taken back to headquarters and actually implemented, because it's things that make sense, I do not see myself as an influencer, and I never do want to see myself as an influencer. I'm not there to influence your purchase. I'm there to be factual, tell you what I feel, and hopefully it will, can't even say influence you, but hopefully it will get you to a space where, I was thinking of this car. However, because Charles has, given me
more insight
on that car, maybe I should actually go to the dealership and actually make a purchase, get a test drive and so forth. I mean, some manufacturers have it so easy. Volkswagen, for example, Toyota. You don't need to promote a Toyota.
Yeah.
It promotes itself.
Yeah.
You can see how many vehicles there are. You can see how reliable those vehicles are, and it is what it is.
Yeah, and it's been like that.
And it's been like that for eons. I mean, they've been championing the sales figures and charts for literally years on end. I don't think there's been a year where Toyota has been outsold by a different manufacturer, which is just goes to show how good of a product they provide, So Volkswagen, obviously, the whole Verpa thing, which I think is slowly dying out, because if you look at how VW has moved on to the Golf 8, it doesn't have that Verpa anymore,
anymore. Yeah.
I think for me personally, I mean, I've driven the Golf 8 GTI and it does what it needs to do, and I just believe that the 7.5 was the peach of the whole Golf series. I mean, that 7.5 is something else. Yes, there's the Club Sport S as well. And they provide thrills without the spills. And you know what? I think the 8 has just matured a bit too much. And I mean, if you're looking at the pricing nowadays, you've got the Golf 8R, which was recently announced to have a price tag of roughly about 900,000.
Switch off.
My bad.
Yeah.
And I put it on Do Not Disturb, man. Okay.
Cool. You were saying VW. You were talking about the.
So yeah, I was basically saying the pricing of obviously the VW products and all cars in general has, call it, skyrocketed. If you are a new employee and you're looking at something that's a bit decent, I think for a car that your friends would be like, yeah, no, final span, etc., you're not looking at anything less than 600,000, you know. And if you think about it, for 600,000, you're looking at probably a fully spec'd Polo GTI.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, 600,000 or probably even a bit more, I just threw that figure out because I think it's very close to that. For this, in this day and age, the value of the rand doesn't mean much, which is a problem. I mean, you're getting a number of manufacturers like the Cherries, which obviously we've got on test today, where you're getting a fully fledged product for less than 600,000 rand. You've got an SUV that's got all the electronic features, all the sound systems that you want, all the technology that you need, and it's coming in at less than 600,000 rand. You know, so what makes the Chinese different to your BMWs, to your VWs, to your Audis and so forth, you know?
That's a good question.
It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're looking at a entry-level X3, I don't think you're looking at less than 700, and you still have to spec that up. Because you don't want a base vehicle of any sort. People are going to be walking around calling you a poverty spec special, you know? So you don't want that type of attention. I mean, with the Cherry that I've got with the Omoda C5, you can't tell that it's a top spec vehicle because the way it looks is actually quite premium. You know, it provides a serene drive, sufficient performance. I'm a performance fanatic, unfortunately. So 115 kilowatts, 230 newton meters of torque. It's decent, you know, especially for what you're paying. So the big manufacturers, I think they need to take a step back and pay attention to what the Chinese are doing, because the Chinese are offering products that are actually at the same level in some instances and provide, as I said, the thrills without the spills for a quarter of the price. So looking forward to that.
So yeah, with the car that you have, what is the difference with the consumer in terms of are they moving to these Chinese brands, or do you still see a lot of new BM premium German purchases?
Well, if you look at the success of Haval and the success of Cherry, I mean, Cherry's got the Tiggo 4 Pro, Haval's got the Jolion, and they've been introducing a different number of those types of models that they've got. So the C5 that I've got, the Omoda, is supposed to be the luxury branch of Cherry. So that's a vehicle that's aiming for the Volkswagen T-Roc and so forth, you know. And I think it does a good job because it's got everything that a T-Roc does. You know, it can change, well, it doesn't change lanes itself, but it's got adaptive cruise control. You can start it from your remote. I mean, you could start it from here. You can open all the windows with your remote, something that a VW does. You can... it's actually the same thing, it's just in a different badge.
And what about the pricing?
The pricing, you're looking at less than 550,000 rand. And how much is a T-Roc, a top spec T-Roc? You're looking at least 700,000, you know, as soon as you start ticking those options. And this is one thing that I've had with a number of the manufacturers, and I kept on mentioning this on the radio show that we had, Galan Kasi FM. How do you buy an R8, right, at a premium of 3.2 million, and then you still have an option to tick this and an option to tick that? For me, that just doesn't make any sense. You know, it really does not make any sense that you are spending 3.2 million, but you still have options to take. I mean, why don't you just say, hey, here's the full product, Can you afford it or
Yeah.
not? Simple as
That's
that.
that.
You know, if you look at how hideous the Golf 7 GTI was, if you didn't spec the what do you call this, xenon lights, it looked like a TSI with a red piece of decal going around the what do you call this, the grill. So it's those types of things that I think these manufacturers take advantage of the markets that they're penetrating. You know, they know that South Africa is popular with the crowd, and not even South Africa is popular with the crowd, but the VW products and golf, specifically polos, are popular with the South African crowd. So play around with the market, you know, take advantage of the market, exploit the market. Say, here's a GTI, it's 500,000 rand, but if you put LED lights and xenon lights, it's going to be 600,000 rand. For me, I can't justify that amount. I can't spend 100,000 rand on a set of lights that literally almost do the same type of thing. Yes, they may not look as stylish, but you know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. If you look at manufacturers from the East, particularly your Kias, your Toyotas, and I guess a bit of the Chinese as well, you hardly have any options to tick. It's a fully spec'd car, you know. You get all the technology that you'd get at the top than what you'd get at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You've got 3 different levels. One may have leather seats, one may have Alcantara on the steering wheel, and so forth and so forth. So for me, I think manufacturers are taking advantage of, you know, I want the full house, is what we used to call it back in the day, as opposed to, you know what, I didn't work hard enough, therefore, you know. Also, don't want to be called poverty spec, therefore want to jump up a level and be mid-spec, you know. So for me, I think it's just sad what the whole marketing and call it advertising industry does to consumers.
Sheesh. So how do you get into TopGear South Africa if you didn't even study journalism?
A gentleman by the name of Lerato Matebesi is actually one of the guys who got me into this whole motoring space. As I mentioned, back in the days, Gugu Zulu was quite a good friend of mine. I mean, my gran and his mom used to work together. So whenever he had to go to Kailami and I had time, because obviously being in a private school, you had different holidays, you know. So when he went to the track and I was in Joburg for the time, I'd obviously try and get a ride, and, you know, used to watch him in the Vodacom Isondo Sports 2000s. Then he went to the West Bank V8s, if I'm not mistaken. And then after a while, obviously, as you grow and you move away from each other, because obviously you've got commitments and I've also got commitments, you sort of lose touch, but, you know, once in a while, hey, Gugu, how are you doing? Whatever. So I think when Lerato came into the fray was when I got a message from him, because I used to have an Opel 200 TS, quite a popular car amongst the petrol head fanatics, you know. Anybody who drives a VR6 knows that that's their greatest foe. Not much of a foe, because, you know, the TS was just a better car in every single aspect, but that's me obviously being biased. And that's where my love for Opel is coming from. But anyway, going back to your question, I think when I got that message from Lerato, he was working at Business Day. And he was like, hey man, I saw your car, what. And I don't know the guy, you know, so I was like, hey, who's this guy? You know, saw my car. Where are you from? No, this is who I am, what. And I was like, okay. You're a motoring journalist. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. What car are you driving now? Was the next question that followed from me. It's like, no, I've got the Audi R8 5.2 V10. And I was like, okay, where are we meeting? You know?
You got me there.
It quickly changed. I mean, you know what? It's one of those things where I was like, you know what? This is probably an opportunity that you'll never get again in your life. So go for it, you know?
Why not? Yeah.
Met up with him, took me for a ride of my life, and ever since then.
Do you still scream when you...
No, I don't.
You don't scream anymore?
No. I make my passengers scream nowadays. The roles have been reversed, you know. So, yeah, I get excited. I won't lie. I get excited. I mean, there's certain cars that just bring out certain emotions in you that you need to express. And I mean, Ferraris, Porsches, McLarens, those are the types of cars I'm talking about, you know. We've had that privilege of actually getting into those types of spaces.
Yeah.
But as I said, officially nothing on paper that says I am a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a way with words, apparently. I mean, I just put it down on a piece of paper, see if it makes sense, see if I'm convincing enough, and see if somebody who's reading that will actually understand or picture my experience.
Okay.
You know, it's a whole lot easier if you're able to sit in somebody else's shoes and say, hey, you know what, this is actually what Charles meant, you know? This is what I think he meant to say, or you know what I'm saying? I try and give people an experience of the vehicle in a first-person view, as opposed to writing a whole generic, it's got 0 to 100 in this.
Which some of us don't even care to read, because we don't know those things.
That's the thing, and I think that's the sad thing about this whole new era of motoring journalism. Everything is moving to video, you know. Content is video based, and it's your influencers, your content creators, and it creates a bit of a rift with those people who are passionate about what they are doing. You know, you'll never see me breaking the law in a vehicle that is a test car. You know, you'll never see me loading 20 people just to try and see if the suspension is going to hold. Why? You know?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you complain that the vehicle that you're driving is branded, so you now need to behave? Why don't you just behave anyway?
Yeah.
That's somebody else's property, you know? I had a Renault Clio a couple of weeks ago. It was branded South African Car of the Year finalist. And the first instinct was like, oh, okay, now people actually understand when I come home that I actually don't steal cars. They'll be able to say, okay, this guy could have some sort of relationship with car manufacturers, you know? Because next door is
still your neighbor.
Yeah, no, it's actually a new one now, and she's a metro cop. So you can understand how uneasy she can feel at times, you know? I mean, I think for the past 3 weeks I've had 3 different cars. You know,
you're this guy.
Exactly, and they're not entry level cars. They're quite impactful cars. You know, they are top specs of a particular version or brand or whatever the case is. So I just need to get a Porsche here next Sunday. Then I'm sure she'll be like, you know what, we need to
call the
sort
popo
this out, lifestyle audit, you know, type of thing. You know, so. Yeah, it's one of those. But for me personally, as I said, Lerato Matebesi, I can't thank that man enough. I mean, he's currently the editor at TopGear South Africa.
Oh, nice.
I've done a couple of articles with him, and it's quite a privilege, actually. You know, for somebody who doesn't have an official letter saying that you are a qualified journalism student or whatever the case is, the fact that I can actually get my name into such an esteemed magazine, for me, is an achievement. You know, some people may think,
definitely is.
You're friends with him, whatever. He's got plenty of friends. He could have asked a lot of other people, you know. But I'm very appreciative of that, and because of him, I've driven cars like the Audi R8, McLaren 720S, M3s, M4s, M5s. I think it's only the super exotic cars where I can say I haven't had the opportunity, but Porsches, 911 turbos.
Small road tires.
It's there. But, you know, I think the next step is to try and move it on to getting the cars on your own. Because the whole process of getting a car with some of the manufacturers is that you have to show that you've got an audience. You've got an audience that can relate to their products, and the products can actually translate into sales. So you get a lot of fly-by-night people who, in some cases, use bots to generate fake numbers. Get 100,000 followers, but you're getting 5 likes for a post. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is where the rift is coming from, as I'm saying, from classic journalism to content creators to influencers and so forth. And it's a whole other topic that, I really don't want to get into. But getting cars is not as easy as what people think it is. It's a long process. But if you play your cards right and you use everything that you've got to your advantage, it can be an easy path. But easy isn't always the most satisfactory way, unfortunately. I think hard work pays. Quality over quantity is always something that will always prevail, and I stand by that. I may not get VWs because of X, Y, and Z, or Audis because of X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, I know somebody's going to say, hey, you know what, we like what he's saying about cars, let's give him a try. And it doesn't matter if you get 500,000 views or 5,000 views. Your 5,000 views can be more impactful than your 5 million views, Doesn't matter that you're showing a bunch of teenagers a Volkswagen Golf, but none of them actually work and none of them can actually afford it, You can have 5,000 people where 200 people buy a Golf because of the exact same thing that you shared with a different audience, And I think this is where some people also get confused, including myself, because in the beginning it was like, I need to start a Twitter page, I need to start an Instagram page, I need to start a website, I need to start this and this and that. And then as you go along, you're like, no, but this guy's only got one platform, but he's on every single PR manager's list. And that's only because he's got a quality audience, as opposed to a audience that's just full of numbers, So for me, as I said, it is, call it a 50-50 situation. It can be easy, it can be difficult, but if you do get in, I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, there's a lot of fun in the motoring industry. COVID obviously stopped quite a couple of things, but things are ramping up again, getting cars left, right, and center, and I'm hoping that it continues.
Okay. And then Kasi FM? Are we still there?
I'm sorry for that. Kasi FM, we're not. The host that I was with, Kasi, what is his name? Fly. Just before I went to the States, he did mention that there is going to be a couple of changes on the roster and so forth. Okay. And he hasn't been allocated a talk portion during his show, so obviously that cut out the motoring section, but
Do you think that section is really impactful, especially with the Kasi people?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know, because the feedback I would get would be more from Fly, who says, hey, this person says thank you very much for giving them this information. Like, I remember one lady who didn't know what tire pressure she should actually put into her tires. Then I said, just check on the door. There's normally an indicator that shows you the tire pressure.
I didn't know mine either, and I was like, I'm like, why?
So it's those simple things. I mean, like tire safety, car safety. It was very informative, I guess. But perhaps they didn't see the value. And I guess for me, it was also just to say, you know what, I also do have 4 years of radio experience, because I mean, we're doing it for about 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. So, quite an adventure. I learned quite a lot of things, how radio actually works, brought on some PR managers as well, interviewed them. So it was a good experience, but I think we now need to move to a bigger station, bigger platform, to perhaps
better.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I drive an automatic, right? What's your preference, manual or automatic?
It depends on the car. If it's a 911 GT3 RS, which is a hardcore track car, I'd rather have it in manual.
Okay.
But if it's a 911 Turbo S, which is a more serene drive, more comfortable, I'd rather have it in automatic.
I want automatic, doesn't matter. Like that's why I was asking, because some people will tell you, no, I don't care. I just want an automatic car. I don't care whether is right.
Now, if you think about it, the whole automatic transmission wasn't that popular back in the day.
True.
And a couple of manufacturers used to have the automatic vehicles as it was almost like a niche thing. It was big in the States, but not in South Africa. So my entire life, I think my parents, grandparents, all they've had is automatics because it's the most seamless driving experience ever. You can't stall, you can't burn your clutch if you are racing or whatever. All you have is two pedals, the brake and the accelerator. Spoon down for acceleration, brake, stop,
Mm-hmm.
The manual, obviously you got the clutch, then you got the gears, then you got the brake, then you got the accelerator, and
it's just a lot.
It's a lot, especially with some of the traffic conditions that we have. But a number of manufacturers are actually moving into automatic transmissions, some of them dual clutch transmissions. That's why you get that power sound, whatever the case is. But yeah, for me, definitely, as a daily, in a normal car, automatic. You can't go wrong with an automatic.
And do they use automatic or manuals in race cars? Or it depends on the brand?
It depends on the formula. I know Formula One has got your sequential gearboxes, which they use pedals and so forth. Rally cars as well use pedals. Some of them do have the sequential gearbox where it's like a lever up here. In some cases. Obviously Formula One, but racing is more. It's more manual, man. Especially for the earlier formulas like your go-karts. And I guess the Isondo Sports 2000s back then, Google was doing it in a manual transmission car. So, yeah, you can't be racing and not have a manual. I mean, this doesn't make sense, An automatic is not going to achieve the same type of control that you want, especially when you're heading into a corner and you're heading out of a corner. You need to be in the right kind of space, and right kind of gears in order to actually get the optimal lap time and so forth. So yeah, definitely a manual for racing makes more sense.
Question? Okay. Okay. I want to go into your all-time favorite car.
All-time favorite car?
Opel.
Surprisingly not.
Oh, I lost the bet.
Surprisingly not. It would have to be the Nissan GTR.
Oh, I forgot about that because you always say Nissan GTR.
Yeah, no. Godzilla it's a car that's got a very special place in my heart, all due to Loretta as well.
That one.
And it just ticks all the boxes, eh?
Everything.
It's a typical Japanese car that's got its flaws. It's not a Porsche. It's not as engineered as well as a Porsche. You can get some of the vehicles that have got mist in the headlights. I mean, you're spending 2 million, 3 million for a vehicle with mist in the headlights. Doesn't make sense. But I think it adds to its character of the underdog that it is. I mean, when the Nissan GTR came out, it demolished some of the establishment. I mean, the 911 Turbo S got a hiding on the Nürburgring, But yeah, for me, favorite car, I would say Nissan GTR.
Fine. Nissan GTR. Okay. Worst car you've ever driven?
Funny enough that it's within the same stable. It's the Datsun Go. I think for me I can't say that it's the worst, but it's the one where I can say I did not enjoy it as much as I did any other test car.
Okay.
I mean, even the Opel Combo, which was obviously a panel van and you couldn't actually see behind you because there's no rear view mirror because of the blocked, what do you call this, canopy or whatever they call it. So you only had mirrors to actually check.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if there's a 3-lane splitting into two and there's some clown rushing this way and you don't actually look, you can actually cause an accident. So
smart of you guys to.
Yeah, it's one of those, I guess, shortcomings of that particular design. But I think the Datsun Go was one of the. Yeah, it wasn't enjoyable. It just wasn't enjoyable at all.
Also, is there money in this whole motor industry journalism?
There is. There definitely is. well, content creators apparently get paid to go to launches, which is something that's new to me and just doesn't make any sense. But I guess
Just to go to a launch, you get
and then
paid
some
for
of them
it.
don't even end up driving the cars, which is
What's the point?
weird for me. So, but anyway, that statement will get me into trouble. I don't have facts apparently, but there is money, especially in terms of advertising perspective. If your circulation figures are showing promise and are showing a stern delivery of a message that you're trying to portray, marketing companies will always say, hey, we'd like to advertise this particular product on your magazine or in your magazine and so forth, and would like to pay you X, Y, and Z. And then sometimes you go to the manufacturers and you say, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. Could you sponsor this aspect, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, there definitely is money. You just need to find it.
Are you finding it?
No. For me, it's never been about the money.
Yeah.
As I said, for me, it's a passion more than anything. So if somebody says to me, Charles, will give you 10,000 Rand to test our vehicle, I'd be like, why? Because already, it's like, okay, this 10,000 Rand could possibly mean that I must write everything good and, forget about the bad. For me, that doesn't help with my credibility. If I'm the only journalist who got 10,000 Rand, for example, and everybody's noting bad points, and I'm the only one who's saying, hey, this is the most beautiful car, it's the most luxurious, there's something suspicious there. So it's, for me, it's definitely not about the money. If the money was to come like, hey, Charles, here's a petrol card, it's a different story. But yeah, it's a step in the right direction, I guess, day by day. Writing, reviewing, and so forth. But yeah.
Okay, let's ask about electric cars. No cheating. Electric cars in South Africa. What do you think about that? Or electric cars in general? Pros and cons.
I think the whole electric revolution, I actually wrote about that in my last article. You should actually pick it up. It's in the car. We don't have the infrastructure yet. Right? And those who keep saying load shedding this, load shedding that, irrespective of load shedding, we just don't have enough charging points.
Okay.
There's a lot of companies that are moving towards building that type of infrastructure, but it costs money, and yes, load shedding does affect a lot of people, but the people who buy the BMW iXs are people who can have their own solar power plant, so they're not worried about that type of problem. Load shedding, I'm already off the grid, so what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? So for me, I think, yes, South Africa will adopt the electric car, which a lot of manufacturers are now introducing, and which a number of manufacturers are saying that by 2030 they're not going to be producing cars that are combustion engines and so forth. So we will get there, but the biggest problem, which I also mentioned in the article, is that distance is the biggest contributing factor to adopting this at a higher rate.
Okay.
If you think about it, a lot of people, when they're in Joburg, they're here for work, commuting up and down, yes, 20 kilometers back and forth to work. But as soon as I need to go home, which could be in Nongoma, Lesotho, there's probably one charging station in between that whole trip, or none in some cases. So vehicle manufacturers like BMW have actually tried to boost their range. I mean, you're looking at least 550 Ks in the BMW iX, which is sufficient, You can get at least to Khampatlel.
Then how about the power bank?
I wish it was that simple, but basically the car is a big power bank because it's basically storing power and it's releasing that power in order to get motion. So it's basically its own big power bank. And a number of manufacturers have also, which I think would be a lot more successful, is the hybrid vehicles that have combustion engines and electric assistance. I think that makes more sense in Africa in general, because our traveling distances are quite big. But if you're staying in Joburg, your whole family's in Joburg,
You
then
can
you don't have
easily
an issue.
just
You can easily have an electric car back and forth, charge it when you get home, like a cell phone, and go about your day. Yeah.
finishing each other's sentences.
Which is what sort of Merck have done with their 2-liter AMG, that electric and
Yeah, the other thing as well, you also need to bear in mind that because performance is such a big thing against or amongst these manufacturers, the old C63, obviously that had a V8. It was making ridiculous amounts of power and it was sounding good. But because of the whole emissions restrictions and regulations, they've had to downsize their technology, the engine specifically, but try and keep the same type of performance. So the easiest way to replace excuse me, the lack of displacement is to get electric involved. I mean, the C43, it's a 2-liter. C63S that's coming is also a 2-liter, but it's got more electric assistance and so forth. So you're getting the same type of power figures, maybe even more, but without all the drama, So, yeah, electric cars. For me, I still prefer a V10 wailing in the background. Like a kilometer down the road, you can still hear, he's changing gears now. Yeah, electric cars, you'll never have that. But I experienced one in the States, actually, traveling from Queens to JFK.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to say no to, right? It's a very, very difficult thing to say no to because those Teslas, comfortable, but build quality is a bit shoddy. But if you think about how long they've been in the industry, it's not that long. But they're actually able to provide a fully fledged vehicle that you can live with every single day. I mean, plug it in, go to bed, wake up, plug it out, drive to work.
Sheesh. I don't know. I don't know if I particularly like the whole idea of electric cars. I'm good. Thanks. Okay, what's the worst vehicle you think that's ever been made?
In terms of looks or what?
All around. If you can break it down, well, maybe give me two. One with looks and the other with everything.
I think the most hideous vehicle.
the M4, the Beaver.
Hold on. I think the most hideous vehicle is the Fiat Multipla. I still don't understand who signed off that type of design. Yeah, it's like a MPV type of people mover, etc. For me, that just doesn't make much sense. But yeah, I think that in terms of looks, that's one of those vehicles. Second, I would say the PT Cruiser's up there as well. The PT Cruiser's up there. I mean, my mom's got one.
When you see that car, it's like, why?
You know what? I think in the future, and very near future, that PT Cruiser is going to ramp up in value. There's something about it, that whole retro styling, that I think is going to increase its value. So those who have PT Cruisers like myself, I think keep them. You'll be very surprised in a couple of years the value they'll fetch. But maybe that's just a pipe dream and me just talking nonsense. But yeah, I doubt.
Okay, PT Cruiser. Wena, what car do you think is the worst?
Look, worst looking. Yeah, PT Cruiser.
It's an ugly car.
PT Cruiser.
Looks like a hearse. Well, some form of.
I'm also thinking of one day who, but I don't remember which one it looks like. But there's one day who, I don't know what day he was doing, coming into cars.
Looks like a microwave.
One of those.
But you mentioned the Beaver, M3, M4.
Look, I think BM is going through something design-wise.
Menopause.
something is happening with them. It's not the worst, man, but I think they're going with a shock value and maybe a younger crowd they want to do. But particularly, I'm not happy with the exterior designs of cars of late. But the interior, they have ramped up and they're looking much better.
I'd actually counter that argument. The interior for me is a bit basic, especially in the M3 and the M4, especially when you jump into an M5 and you're like, okay, but it's just M5, just a bit smaller, you know? For me, I think the M3, it lacked that welcome to the interior, you know, be cool, be safe, etc. However, what is your opinion on the E60 5 Series? The one that actually had the V10.
5 Series. Yes, the one, I think it's the 2012.
Probably 2007, I think. It's quite an old one. The one that had the V10.
When the M3 came out with the V10 as well.
M3 had the V8 at that time.
08.
Yeah, so I think about 2005, 2009 type of era. Not exactly sure on the dates.
I've never been looking at BMs. The one where I'm saying the interior looked better was the 8 series.
Okay.
That crystal knob in the middle. That interior sort of moved them from looking like the E93, all of them inside. The E90s, somewhere the E46. For me, since E46 up until now, all BM interiors look the same. Until they did the 8 series. The 8 series sort of put them closer to their German counterparts.
But if you think about it, this is also one of those conversations where the target market is different. You know, if you look at the interior of an Audi RS4, a C63 and a BMW M3, the M3 will look like it's the most modern, you know, type of vehicle out there. And then obviously Mercedes will come back with the latest version and say, okay, but look at our 12 or 20 inch display that wraps around the entire car. We are now the benchmark. You know, Audi has been known to be the benchmark when it comes to interiors. We don't know about the reliability though, but that's a story for another day. So it will always change. And obviously you can't have the same interior of the Big Daddy M5 in an M3. It doesn't make sense.
Series, yeah.
The 8 series, which is obviously a step above the M5, you need to add a couple more things. Like that's why you see it's very similar to the X7, the interior, because it's the same type of market that they're targeting, you know. So I hear you, but I still believe that the Beaver, ticks the right boxes there. So it's the one car I'm scared of, actually. That and the C63. Yeah.
Happy?
Not really.
All right, let's do some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
RS3 Audi, A45 AMG, BMW M2 competition.
RS3 is good, hey? But I'll take M2. It's a better
M2.
package.
Okay.
The new M2.
Second one is V-Class, H1 VW Combi.
I'm going to go against the norm and say Caraval, which is the actual car that competes against the V. Caraval, for me, it's a nice car.
Okay.
Ticks the boxes.
All right. Ford Raptor, Amarok,
You don't have to carry on.
Hilux,
Ford
Audi.
Raptor.
Okay.
Ford Raptor.
Okay. The rest don't matter.
Nah. You can't go wrong with a Ford Raptor.
Is it? Yeah.
Just on those buckies, right? What's your thoughts of this GWM series?
Once again, It's a vehicle that is shaking up the establishment, and I think it's good because those vehicles are capable. They can actually do what all those other cars can do, and it's a different option for consumers to say, hey, here's a vehicle that can do exactly what you want to do in your Hilux or your Ranger, but at a fraction of the price, you know? So I think it's good. It's good that those manufacturers are shaking up the establishment.
Okay. SUVs, Range Rover, Audi Q7, Porsche Cayenne, GLS, Mercedes, or BMW X5?
X5M. Can't go wrong there. X5M, yeah.
Okay. Sports. There's a Porsche 911 Turbo, Lamborghini, how do you say, is it a Hurricane? Oh, it's Huracan. Or Ferrari Spider. Zing, 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 zing.
Definitely Ferrari. Porsche is good. Best all-day supercar, everyday supercar you can have. You can't fault it, but I think Ferrari just brings out that hooligan in a lot of people. Lamborghini, it's just an Audi, rebadged in a bull, so definitely the Ferrari.
Okay. Station wagons. M3 Touring, what is that?
Touring. The new
It's a station wagon from BMW.
Oh, okay. RS6 Estate. And then, I don't know, the Mercedes one you were looking for, you didn't...
It's the Mercedes E-Class. I think it's touring as well. Estate.
I think I can't really pinpoint what they call it, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But RS6 and the BMW M3 Touring is not the same. It's not the same league.
Okay.
So I can't put that there. Unfortunately, I would rather have the Touring against the BMW M3, against the RS4, and perhaps who else? Who else has got a Touring? Yeah, but I guess we don't get it here in South Africa. But for me, I've always had a special place in my heart for the RS4 because that motor just makes all the right noises. And for me, I think RS4, even though it's not the best, if it was choose the best, it would be the M3 Touring, no doubt, definitely no doubt. But because of what the RS4 does and what it can do and the way it sounds, definitely Audi RS4.
I need to up my game with these cars. I know nothing about what you guys are talking about. I need to Google all these cars. All right. Gottagged. Still active. Facebook, Instagram.
Not as much as it should be.
Yeah.
But it's still active. I do post my reviews there. I do post some press releases that we get from manufacturers. And yeah, still active. On
Like, follow, Gottagged.
Major,
we'll put it down.
Yeah, major social media platforms. But yeah, trying to ramp up some traffic on our website to get some more people into cars and interested and so forth.
Well, that's good. Future plans with this whole motor industry?
I think it's to take it overseas. As a South African consumer, we are being robbed here. The amount of vehicles that are available in the States is actually quite ridiculous. Honda's got a Bucky in the States, you know? So, yeah, I think we're just being shortchanged as a country. So, definitely take Gottagged overseas and try and see what we can do there.
Okay, I'm going with you this time.
It's fine.
Been saying. When are we going to Boston? I want to go to Boston. Massachusetts.
As soon as I get this place sold,
Yeah?
2-3 weeks I should be out of the country.
At home.
No. Sorry, I don't want to waste time. There's just too much to do in New York.
Okay. Alright, sasala kanjalo ke thina. Alright. We're going for a drive now. Kanjalo you taking koloi?
It's an Omoda C5.
An Omoda
by
C5.
Cherry.
It's a Cherry. So we're going to be riding in the Cherry. Okay, guys, please like, subscribe. It's free. Please. Okay. This is ADN Lifestyle with Senati, brought to you by Audionomics Entertainment, and we are out. Are you good? You sure? No more questions? Are you right? All right. Then we out. Thank you, Johnny.
Cool.